Do you know, we're often asked whether UKIP intends to privatise the NHS, and I think the reason so many people ask us that question is that particularly the Labour Party has put out what is frankly a lie, that we do intend to privatise the NHS. And I think the kind of rationale, because do you know, most lies are based on something that has some kind of distant relationship with the truth, and I think that particular lie is based on the fact that it is absolutely clear that within the party, that is one of the options that UKIP has looked at in the past. But what is absolutely clear is that the overwhelming consensus within UKIP is that privatisation is absolutely not a solution in terms of taking forward the NHS. Now, you know, it's somewhat ironic that parties such as Labour are accusing UKIP of wanting to privatise the NHS when our policies explicitly state that UKIP is in favour of an NHS that is free at the point of use and that is totally nationalised, and that it is actually our view that local authorities should buy out their PFI contracts early where they can afford to do so. Now, it's particularly ironic because privatisation began in, I think it was around about 2003, under Labour. It was the Blair government that introduced partial privatisation through PFI contracts, and in fact, to date, they've actually already privatised 4% of the NHS. Now, that privatisation is something that UKIP wants to reverse. And, I mean, people will know that the Conservatives and the Liberal coalition are pretty much on board with Labour's moves to privatise the NHS, because when they took over in 2010, they continued to privatise the NHS to the tune of, I think, about 2 or 2.5% more. So in the 7 years from, I think it was 2003 to 2010, Labour privatised 4% of the NHS, so it's about 0.5% per year, and in the last 5 years the Conservatives have succeeded to privatise another 2.5% or thereabouts. So if Labour get in, on the basis of their track record so far, over the course of the next 5 years, we could ordinarily expect a further privatisation to the tune of about 2.5%, by which time we'll have about an 8 or 9% privatisation of the NHS. So in summary, UKIP is actually the only party that doesn't want to privatise the NHS, and the other two parties, whatever they try to say in the run-up to the general election in the hope of winning votes, because they know that the British people love the NHS, it is really the kind of jewel in our crown in terms of, you know, free fair treatment of everybody, and ensuring that those who have the greatest need have the greatest access to help. Because they know that they are making all sorts of allegations against us, and they're making all sorts of empty promises, but the people really mustn't forget that these governments have made manifesto promises in the past, which they've proven they have absolutely no interest in keeping. So you really do need to look at the track record of these parties, and the track record is that in 7 years Labour have privatised 4% of the NHS, and in 5 years the Conservatives and Liberal have privatised about 2.5%.